Hey folks, this is me Vishwas Narayan. I'm the host of this DevOps chat show, and all of the times that we just hear like, hey, where's the market heading towards? I think probably today data science market is heading more towards the data mesh aspect. Because over a course of time, there is always a finite definition between what is the data source that we had and also the data, the way that we aggregated, the way that we ingested. There is a lot of difference between that. So I think over a course of time, we have evolved as an engineer, and we have also evolved something to be known as the best of whatever we could afford to. And I think data mesh is one of it. So I think thank you, Tarun sir, for giving it some time and helping us understand some of the insights from your experience, so that we can also learn something new from it. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Ishwas, and good afternoon, folks, if you're joining from India. So it's been a great and speaking about data and data like which is the I think the main component right now. It's the data is the driving engine these days for anything like any field you take, whether it's data science, data engineering. Obviously, those are the driving factors, and then we have IoT space, and we have like different aspects, computing, the container world, the microservices world. So the data drives the main engine. I think this is a very interesting talk to deliver, and I think I got an opportunity in my last organization to work in a data space for almost 1.5 years. But yes, I think even now I'm at least, if not data engineering, but at least I'm working on at least the data analytics, I could say,
Yep.
with Power BI and all those analytics tools of Microsoft. So yeah,
Yep.
it's an interesting topic, and let's see how it goes. Yeah.
So let's just understand what is it all about when we really think about the failures in bootstrapping and architecture for big data. Big data is huge. It's humongous to one extent that hey, data comes in all form factors, all different sources. What to do now? So what is all about when we talk about the failures in bootstrapping and architecture for big data?
What like from my experience, what I have realized, like the failures in the big data projects, or rather the data which we the project which we worked for is like we are not able to get how much data would be ingested, and the structurization of the data, like how much would be there are three kind of tables, right? The gold table, the silver table, the bronze table. Whereas the bronze table specify the unstructured data, the silver table is a semi-structured data, and the gold standard is like purely a structurized
Structured
data.
data.
So
It's all
so
the
this is
data lake architecture. It's like
yeah,
the
it's all
delta lake.
Delta Lake architecture. And when you say about this data mesh, it revolves around a Delta Lake one and Databricks two. It revolves around these two components mainly. When you talk about any modernized data architecture, so I think to like we need to first structurize the data into the classifications which I just spoke about, and uh, according to me, the data mesh, or the big data for that case, in many ways, it's kind of a data platform version of microservices. And what's happening now is uh, so it's not even the data. So even in our normal operations, the DevOps operations also. So when we adapt, when the companies like Netflix and Amazon adapt, might have adapted DevOps a couple of years back, way many years back. So these modern organizations, they have already moved, and some are still moving. Or if they are not moving, they need to move from being a reactive to a proactive with the handling of the data assets. I think that's very important. How you are handling your data assets. We need to keep on asking those questions like how and who and what data, what data is stored, and for what purpose it will be used, and then who will be using it and how it will be using it. We Along with the GDPR compliance, I think These are the important factors which we failed to answer a couple of times. And what happens and in the end is we keep on ingesting so much of data which we don't even need without filtration, and we had to for the production at least we have to classify directly them into a gold standard without even properly structurizing them. And then what will happen is the failure which I have seen is the leaders, the persons who the business who is actually having a high level view of this data are not getting the good insights about because data is see from data you need to predict. It's a kind of prediction from data. Your data should be so much refined that you should predict the future of the if you're not interpreting or analyzing the data properly with our tool sets which we in generalize we just spoke about. I won't specific or speak on technologies here. It's about the case studies and how we define. So when your data is not structurized, it's difficult to predict actually. So if whatever amount of data science or the algorithms you apply, it's actually very difficult to if your data is not structured and it's not and if you're still in a kind of reactive version and you're still living in a reactive version instead of proactive of handling of data sets, then it's difficult for you to get the high level picture of and predict the future events and how the the things would evolve. I think there are very good examples. I was just reading through, the best example of how handling the data should be. It's of the gaming industry, in specific the Asian countries. How the if you want to learn about the modern data architecture, you should have a game developer mindset. That's what a good article. But probably I can just share a link. So I like that link when we spoke about because this has a different meanings according to the different markets. So this is one of I think one of my colleagues in last organization, and probably yeah, this is where I was just reading that article. If you want to have a if you want to think how thinking like a game developer can take data transformation to the next level. So different view people have different views. So this talks about data science analytics and how it's we should change our mindset for the data transformation journey to take data transformation to a next level. So to avoid these kind of failures of understanding the architecture of big data. So different people have different prospects. This is one. Yes, of course. Yeah, I think this is what I have to say. That's where the failure is, like with the couple of points which I just mentioned. Yeah.
Sure. Wanted to know like how is data warehousing? How is it changing the way we are entering the world of AI? Like what is it all about when we are pioneering a technology for data storage and data accessibility today? So what is it all about when we talk about data warehousing techniques evolving and we trying to move more towards the AI field? So what's your take on that?
Yeah, although yeah, I do have kind of gotten a chance to work on data warehousing, but mostly uh, yeah, I was into governance, security, and the infrastructure and data engineering part of it. But yes, data engineering, as far as I know, the inclusion of AI in this the data space, data engineering or data warehouse world could be a game changer, as I believe. As we why because we as we need those analytics like how the data is going to grow. So if you say see, because I spoke about in just my last when I was just answering on the last question. So the AI, what is AI basically? AI is uh, like artificial intelligence. You should be it should be able to predict your in AI. You should be able to predict the outcome of the data and how the data is going to be grow, how the data will grow in coming years. And and like how it will be used, and that's a security principle which are applied, like how the it can, without AI I think data won't exist. It's just like the heart and kidney of a human actually, I can describe like that. So uh, AI is just like it's driving the data right now, is in predicting the events, in predicting the events, and in like to have an approximate idea of how the data will grow and multiply in a generation to come. So so I think we should have effective data engineering along with the AI to predict the future events on the data mesh and those aspects. And if we say about these things, I think not only it also helps us to predict the security events, and it's helpful to improvise. What we call today is the zero trust security. It helps us it gives us the edge. AI, with the AI advent of AI in the data, it helps the user to also protect his data, like from the new cyber securities issues, or the new cyber security, what you say, the vulnerabilities which we are seeing right now. And I think I was seeing one of your article as well on sync. So I think this is all cannot be achieved without the use of data with AI, because it helps you predict the nature of the cyber attackers as well. Like that's some prerequisite of anything which needs to happen. So like having a zero trust security, and that's all important because it's you each company have their own the KPIs, and those KPIs are driven by the data, right? And and the data is like if you integrate AI into your data, it will help you to analyze the events, and helps you to improvise on your security, and update your security mechanisms. And that's all about how like because if you see AI helps you predict, AI or ML model will help you predict the user analytics must be tied to trillion of events, like and then it helps you develop a better AI ML model training. So trainings that will happen, the model that you train along with the AI, like AI when you ingest the data, it helps you create the ML model as well. So these events and help you analyze the patterns and how the attackers will introduce into your data, and how to how land in a safer hands. And if you see now, more than 80% of all the attacks involved in the data credentials are misused in the network. So this data, how this data is coming, this is coming through the patterns which we observe when we combine AI with the data, and then we have AI and ML space. So it help you predict those events to protect your from a security aspect as well. So I think this is the simple thing, and yeah, of course. This is what why when the entry of AI is changing really the concepts of data engineering, when we insert the AI into the data engineering, so at the data, so it's really changing the game. Actually, it's a game changer.
Yep, that's true. Because a lot of times when we think of like where can I architect the best solution, it's all about like the simple techniques, call of an API that just comes into the picture. So I wanted to learn like are the techniques evolving today to be
Yeah.
accessible, or else is the accessibility of the data that is making it as think that engineering something around a data is affordable? What is it all about when we are trying to improvise in this world? Like it's all about like techniques are improving, it's getting more accessible today because cloud adoption frameworks, cloud security frameworks, all of these things are being improving. So what is it all about when we are trying to improvise in this world of data?
I think what we try to improvise is like what we followed as a best practice when I got an opportunity to work in the data engineering spaces. Uh, we what we are trying to improvise are two things, which I think one thing I spoke, the security, and the other thing is the governance. The governance, if your governance model is good about the data, you know about your assets, how it's been used, and like who has the access and who is using actually how and who is actually using those assets, and for what purpose they're using it. If we have this governance in place, I'd say uh, that's governance part and the security part is it what I believe from my experience in data. Like what this is what we should try to improvise until we know how, when, and how, these two questions like who, how, and when, and what data is being used. Uh, if we don't know these things, then if we don't know these things, first of all, then we don't know what to ingest, and if you when ingesting, what to take, what data, what unstructured data, like what meaningful data out of the unstructured data is meaningful to us or to the customers. We won't be able to get that statistics. So I think the curation of the data, the filtration, the key aspects of the data, uh, won't get those statistics. So I think industries are trying to improvise on those areas like security, governance, accessibility, the three parameters which I could think of as of now: security, governance, and accessibility. Like accessibility,
Yeah.
the questions which I posted, structuralization, which again I posted. What information can we derive from now the unstructured data uh, on the different algorithms we apply to structurize and to have to show a high level picture to the business or the business leaders, and the governance part of it, what
Yeah.
assets we are having. These three things, Vishwas, I do see, which we are
Yeah,
trying
I
to
think.
implement. Yeah,
Yeah, it's also like I feel that today we are trying to more towards automation of it, right? It's not like okay, we have this technique. How can we
of
utilize it to
course.
the best part about it? It's like DevOpsifying all that. It's like the tools
Yeah,
are also like that, right? It's like you can automate anything today. You can schedule the Databricks pipeline. You can schedule anything that can happen. DevOps pipeline can be just put inside the Databricks workload, and it can just do the same old cron job. It can still get the same old source control, test plans, whatnot. So yeah, I think probably that mindset
yeah.
of automating probably that has changed us. So
Yeah, the
yeah,
automation also is playing a very big role in this actually. Uh, of course, yeah. So along with the DevOps, when it's ingested into the data, it forms data engineering, and then it forms the data pipelines, like how
yeah,
you run your ETL pipelines, through Data Factory and tools like Databricks for the analysis, and you have Databricks is for data processing, and then you have the data factory, which I used to use along with the data engineers to ingest the raw data, and data factory processes the data, and then we loads it into for use in the power. Again, it went to go through the Databricks, and again it's a Databricks or the AI or ML pipelines to or data science stuff, so to have more curated data. And then yeah, the automation we can't avoid. I think that's a very important aspect. So fourth is the automation uh,
yeah.
for improvising accessibility, automation. I think security and governance. I think all these areas are which we want to improvise. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So now we have data. That's the biggest key to model, right? We just throw in inside the TensorFlow pipeline or the PyTorch pipeline. It just has to just give out all that insight. So it's all about that, but also defining a service as well. Using all these kind of data is something that we are going. What can you learn from the stream of data in a service or the logs from it, as well as what can we do while improvising a data warehouse architecture? It's all about like How can we learn from the data? How can we just draw more of an insight from the data? What is it all about when we are trying to architect based on the data that flows in inside the architecture?
We have, if you say classification of data, I will just try to explain with my limited knowledge on this area. But yes, what we know, like data can be classified into a couple of categories. We have a static data, we have a streaming data, we have a and we have a what you say the live data, and like
Real
we
time.
have real time data. I think real time data, yeah. So
Yeah.
real time data. So I think real time data. So in this area, what the data is the biggest key. The question, I think it was the data is the biggest key, I think, right, for the models, but how it is being defined, like what we learn from the stream of data in service logs as well as data headers. So I think I think what we can learn is I think when it comes to the static data, it's the different the tools which we use to store the static data. It can be anything related to the archive events which has already happened. Now everyone is focused to have a real time or a streaming data, like the live. If you see the example of data which has been streamed, the statistics of the players, each player, how much they contributed to the IPL. So the IPL, so how the data is being streamed, and the statistics being displayed. Like I think you also, a couple of days back, you were also speaking about the Hotstar journey, into the DevOps. So I think uh, we should learn about the. I think probably you might have the best study on that Hotstar. So how they have developed the data model, and I was reading about this Netflix also, just couple of minutes back, how they have designed their
You can share the screen.
Intuit. Yeah, I can probably share my screen. One is the Intuit model, like how Intuit data mesh strategy looks like. Probably let me know once you are able to see my screen. Yeah.
Sure.
So there are two models which I was referring to. One is Intuit and one is Netflix. How they have designed their mesh technologies.
I'm
And
able to see the screen. Yes.
yeah, you're able to see. Okay. So this is typically how that Intuit data mesh strategies looks like. That's again a Medium post. I don't know if you're able to access this whole article, but this is also written by one of the Intuit engineers. It's AI driven. Their Intuit strategy is to have a AI driven expert platform. So that's what we just spoke about. And this article describes about the how they have designed the vision. Intuit needs a data driven system to enable smart products and to enable data. The idea is to experiment quickly and fail fast. Every company of the cadre of Intuit or the Netflix adopt that. We have to you have to implement fast, and you have to fail fast as well. So that it will be what maximum could do if you fail. What maximum could happen? You could set a learning examples for the generation or for the organization to follow. So I think the vision of here of the Intuit is like they needs the data driven to enable smart product experiences and to enable more Intuit teams to have more easily create them. So this includes a variety of data workers, of service engineer, UX developer, and business analytics data scientist and data engineer. These are the couple of folks which are needed when you develop work on a vision to digital on a digital transformation journey. A UX developer, service engineer, business analytics, data scientist, and a data engineer that have all the problems with them. So the requirements come from the basically the business analytical guy, and then he passes on to probably a service or data scientist, data engineer that develop a solution, and UX is developer to have a good UI, and then a service engineer is needed to basically to manage these things. So there's a couple of challenges. The challenges which are highlighted by the team is like this is what I was speaking about governance, like data discovery. There's just a couple of points like the challenges to understand how to drive simpler rapid developments of these things. We first had to discover what has independent data workers. Like this is related to the Intuit challenge, and but I have a very good example of the manufacturing industry as well. So but when we go to Intuit, so what it's not about even Intuit, but this is how as far as I remember it should be data discovery. Like these are the questions which we should answer ourselves before while designing a data architecture, like data discoverability. Where can I find the data about a particular thing, like customer company? Where can I find a data source from a particular product or service? And then we have a data understandability. Who can approve my access so that I can see the sample of data? What is the schema of the data? What is the business meaning and context of the data? As I just mentioned, we should derive some meaningful context from the data, the raw data which we are consuming. If we are not able to extract that, then I think it's useless. It's a very important aspect actually. If we are able to drive that meaning from that data, and that meaning of the data can be improvised by the tools like we have tools like Databricks, and we have Data Factory, and those are intelligent tools, and we have AIML workspaces. So is this the data related to the other concept? Is it joinable data? What is the meaning of the relationship? And then we have the zero trust security, data trust. So after the data understandability, data discovery, we have data trust. What system produces this data and what at what latency? What other system uses this data? What is the quality of that data? Which team support this data with breaks? So whether it's the operation teams, whether it's a data engineering team, or whether it's the like it's which team which should support ideally. And then we have a data consumption, how the table of the data which I'm storing its partition. There's a data about the data consumption, and who can approve a production system to access it. Who can approve while designing a data architecture? You need to ask these questions. Like this is a very important I think aspect. It's not only to Intuit case study. It's a general concept which we need to have while designing for a data architecture, and how to avoid the failures which we spoke up in the first your first question, which was. So these questions, if we ask, or if we understand in the very beginning phase, in the initial phase, I think we can avoid those situations. And will I get alerted if the schema changes? So how the alert mechanism will look like? And like then we have our data publication, like a couple of things. How do I describe my data so that understands it? You should able to the customer should able to understand your data when it is finally processed for the analytical and for the higher leadership. And then where do I host my data? Whether it's a storage account, the storage account itself, or data lake, Azure data lake. Which one it should be? How do I host my data or the other system? So it's Amazon S3. Well, like which cloud you choose, that depends. And then data system are complicated. How can I build and operate one? What are my operational responsibilities once the process is in production? So what should be my responsibility now that your idea and your raw data is in production? What should be my responsibility day to day to improvise on that? So these are the couple of things which we should keep in mind actually. And the compliance part, like what how do I mean a compliance for processing, storing, and publishing data? Or I should not be able to duplicate your data. Should not be duplicated. It should be so normalized to some applying some Cosmos DB on some if it's a NoSQL data, you should try to improvise that the NoSQL data, and such is the structurized. You should improvise on the SQL data, SQL server we have, and those things. So you should not duplicate the data. It should be normalized actually. And the strategy, like the strategy, then they discussed about the strategy that include customer happening. This is like this is a very good read article, and then this is the organizing people, code, and data, like how it should look like. The data worker, the product manager, and we have a team leader, and then this is called comprising of team that helps to create and manage these things. What are these things? Internal process data that actually produces the external data API. So it's a data product. So it's entirely organized into our data products. So that's how it is. To more precisely describe the set of written data that collectively solve a business problem. So this is how we introduce a systematic method of organizing that's called a data product. So that's is how Intuit is managing. Then this is a very good case study. Of course, yeah, and then uh, so of the data product, they are describing the ownership of the data product, how it should authorization, description, governance, which we just spoke, quality of the data, and the operational health. The owning team responsible for the data product uptime and performance cost. So these are the couple of parameters, the keywords, description, governance, quality, the health of the data, like how on the it should also optimize the performance. Once you calculate through AI driven data, once you calculate predict you can also get a control of the performance of the data. Like you can improvise on those areas and the uptime scaling. You can implement the things like Kubernetes and containers as a service based on the prediction of the events. So that's also important. AI and data that helps you predict all these things, and governance, quality, and so just spoke about. And this is one also main thing: authorization and authentication, like authorization of the data. Who owns that data? We should know these things. I think these are the couple of things. But this is one. One is the gaming industry. There is also one of the again the topic is different here, but if you focus on the data part of it, it's a uh, sorry that if you focus on the data part of it, how Microsoft is actually doing this. A very interesting thing which I found, like for example, access to data along the value chain and generation of the critical insight, like with the AI, is a key to optimize the sustainability footprint. It also this is a very important aspect in this by the people when there's a global warming discussion going on. We should try to minimize the optimize the sustainability footprint. The data when ingested with the AI can help you optimize the sustainability footprint. So the AI based production optimization is providing a win-win situation for business and environment. So data along with AI is providing a huge benefits in the manufacturing industry as well. So if you see, these are data from the purchased goods. Mostly scope three is like these are a couple of statistics, like, and the European countries are increasingly influenced with the data manufacturing. So this data is very important. You see these data which we see in this is all driven by the if we don't have this control on the data, this is very this could result in like how the data with AI combination is also helping us to reduce the optimize the sustainability footprint. So that's this is a very good article, probably MS manufacturing solution. So that's sustainability in manufacturing. So this is you should go through, and this is a very good read on how they have implemented use make use of data and AI to get the prediction of and reduce the carbon footprint. So this is how when AI is ingested with data, how wonders, how what kind of wonders it can do. So a couple of these are the couple of scenarios which I wanted to cover. Yeah, I think.
Sure. And also, like, data mesh is coming up in the world. I think you answered that, but like, I wanted to know how can we evolve using it? How can the world evolve using the same old data mesh architecture, which is now coming up in the market? So, what are all the main sources? So, it's all about like where can we source the data and where can we do it. So, I want you to answer this question. Like, the data source are undefined, and also the data source also has not that unique for the world of AI, right? So, what is it all about when we are trying to have an evolution using the data mesh architecture?
Like probably what I believe is on this aspect is uh, when you say about when you talk about data science along with the data mesh. So I think with data sciences, as far as I know, even though I have not worked much on data science, but with my colleagues, especially in ABB, who have actually worked on data science, is like they this is like helping them to write some kind of good algorithms in kind of in Python or the Python code, like to help predict the data out of the while I'm working mostly in the like since last 1 year I'm working in the manufacturing space, industrial automation. So I can give examples on that space at least in this, like how the data mesh is coming up from the world of data science. So for data mesh, why it's coming from data science is like once you have a good algorithm structurized, you can predict the event. Like for example, in my industry, the type of controllers, the data customer, in which type of controllers the customer are using most in robotics industry, and if suppose they're using more of a X controller, and like we in the robotics world we have so to explain this, I have to explain few terminologies in robotic space as well. So in robotic space, we have controllers, we have what you say the service boxes, we have the robotics panel, and we have different kind of robots, single arm, dual arm robots. See, it's totally depends on the customer taste, like how they are in today's world using which kind of controllers and they are using the most, and based off that analysis, like of which type of controllers they are using, then that comes the what you say the service level agreement which is tied up to those controllers and the robots. So based on that, the consumption of the customer to a particular controller, then particular SLAs we need to refine. We need to define in the SLA. You have like the type of the content of the SLA looks like it's mostly developed on based on the data which is received from the business people. That is driven by the business guys. The SLA driven, and then the SLA is tied to a particular robot. So this is our team here, there is a separate team for that, so they keep on analyzing these patterns with the analytics, these kind of analytics using some SQL joins, and then curating the data using the algorithms developed in the Python, and then you have the reporting available through the it's a kind of legacy tool, but right now we're pushing the code directly into the kind of iOS on-premise servers. So, but this prediction of all these things, it's through the algorithms and the Python flowcharts, like the analyzing the patterns of the customers, which controllers they are using the most, and what are the SLAs which are most frequently used. Then what happens is we try to improvise. We tries to improvise on those areas, they try to focus on those controller specific releases, so that how we can improve our customer experience, and that's how I say that team which is working on the providing these kind of good analysis through some algorithms. Although I could not say if they are fully utilizing data science, but I think whatever they are doing with the prediction of the events, the statistics which they are playing, and they come up with patterns, the patterns they are developing to predict the customer taste according to the customer taste. Then this helps us to improvise the product, that robot product. I think
Yeah.
that's where I can think of
Yeah,
data
I
science is
think,
really important.
yeah,
Yeah.
like when I think of data mesh, it's like a plethora of resources coming at one given point of time. It's like, hey, you know what? Now is a time for your data science pipeline to evolve at this given second. So how is it? Data mesh is all about that. So I think probably because of the data mesh that we are discussing prolifically here today, probably there's going to be a huge change that might have happened in data mesh today itself. because it's still
Yeah.
evolving. There is still a lot of challenges that we need to face in when we are architecting something like that. So I wanted to ask you this one question, like how is DevOps for the world of data science? How are they getting ready by learning from the failures today for being adaptable for the tomorrow? I just wanted to know how is the world preparing for the data explosion that they will face, because it's all automating. We have now gone through a phase where we now think about like how can we automate hundreds of things, but like how is it going to be something that the world can learn about adapting for the data explosion that is going to happen in the tomorrow's world?
Yeah, that's a very important question, which I think we are also not very much sure. But again, because these again, I have two side examples because it's been a year looking more into manufacturing industry. What I look is like how the robots are connected nowadays. We have mobile networks like Vodafone and all these things, and Reliance also. Like so much of technologies that telco partners, telecom partners coming up, Airtel for that matter. So I think how they it will totally depend on how for the next explosion of the data, like how we there's a very good read, like there's an intelligent approach, like how like I think it will depend like how the this is a very good article. Again, I think I have to share my screen because I think still on
Sure.
those lines I'm still thinking, but I have due to less exposure in again this area. So I think we I'm still learning from the examples which are provided in the industry. So let me know once you are able to see the screen.
Yes, I'm able to
So
see your screen.
this is one of the white paper. Are you able to see it?
Yes, I was able to see.
Vishwas, are you able to see that one?
Yeah, yeah, I am able to see.
Yeah, so this is the things which 5G analytics preparing for the data explosion, how they are preparing. So we have uh, this is a very interesting read, the white paper on the 5G analytics preparing for the data explosion, managing massive data volumes, which we are going to approach for the 5G analytics. Taken so it's about the white paper about the 5G analytics. So how at least the telecom sector is preparing about the this data explosion. Like for the DevOps, of course, we need to adopt the automation areas around those areas like uh, the the automation, data governance, integration, architecture, analytics. And manage massive data volumes and create a 5G scalable approach of 5G analytics. So this all depends on the governance, data integration, which the data which we're integrating, and architecting that data. So this is like I think uh, for the data governance, I think we are using we should try to have a more automation in place. I think DevOps has, I think data pipe. When you say the DevOps into the data, it's called data pipelines. So the data pipelines, obviously, that will play a big role in data explosion. But I think this is like these are the fill this if you focus on the data governance, integration, and architecture aspects of it, we can still overcome the we can at least get some idea on how this explosion would look like. So we, as you see, managed how to they are the use case which 5G analytics we can learn is like how they manage massive data volumes and create a scalable approach for 5G analytics. So as you all we all know that 5G is in place probably by next year, and it will come. As of now, it's in I think countries like I think no, it's North or South Korea, but yes, in 5G in India it will come, and it will have to handle a massive. We have a huge challenge to handle the data volumes which we are going to say. If you see these communications over telecom partners, the number of devices that will needs to be connected, even the manufacturing space, the connected services. is expected to grow about 100 times the times of device online in 2021. So more and more number of devices are online, then it means more amount of massive amount of data volumes, which data which needs to be generated and taken care of. So that's a huge responsibility with the 5G, which we are. Then we have. This is like some of the examples taken in the Indian approach to building core components, and then this is like strategic dimension, business capabilities, tactical capabilities, and then we have data protection, data integrity. So I think these points we covered more and less, but this article will give the detailed insight, and companies should also define the guidance principle of the data. The principle provide a foundation to build the five dimensions, like figure one. So they have particularly showed the. I think this is the very important one, which I think which could answer your question as well. How we can handle the data explosion for the years to come. Like if we have a control on these areas, I think we can handle this data explosion in a very efficient way. Probably I can share this link as well. So this is where and this is the very important screen which you are seeing now. So the data sourcing, which we just went through, the development and maintenance plan. This is, I think, build will self healing and self cleanup process. Once data is not needed, we should be able to. A simple example is we should be able to clean the storage account when it is not in use. We can't be paying for a huge ADLS storage, right? So if it is not being used, we should try to or self-healing implement and self-cleaning to improvise the cost, which we saw earlier in the earlier slides. So this is like we should have a clear mind, consistent and easily maintained data flows. Govern then comes the governance and quality. Time should be spent on analytics over engineering. So this is what I think at ABB we are doing. So we are spending more time on analytics like through Power BI. We are analyzing those data sets using Power BI, how the data is being used, like how the different components are interacting. So and then leveraging current technology capabilities, verifying about data movement. So I think this is where I can correlate like we should spend time on analytics. This is what we are doing. Um, Building some custom queries. The other team is doing like building some custom querying around the controllers. The This is like to get the taste of the customer and then try to improvise on that product. So we are spending more time on. There's a team at ABB. Besides the DevOps and the operations team, they are spending more time on preparing these queries and then preparing a dashboard out of reports in the Power BI. They spend more time on analytics than on the engineering. Of course, they are developing algorithms and power in Python and all, but I think half of the team is mostly focused on the analytics part, how to improvise on those areas. So if your governance and quality of the data is strong, then I think you can handle those situations, the explosion of the data. And then the access issue, of course, which we discussed a lot in this our call. So I think like we should like have a control on who is having the access or our data. Then the communication, there's awareness and continuously align analytic goals with the corporate goals and strategies. So these are the couple of things which I think out of all these five, at least three are common. I would say the data sourcing, access, and governance and quality, which would if we have a control on these three areas, we can I think have a good plan in maintaining the data exclusion. So then I think these are the couple of things which are obviously they are more about the Teradata. This article talks more about the data architecture, like how is this looks like. So of course there's a very good read on this one. As 5G produces more data at a faster rate than ever before, telcos need to the ability to capture and analyze data at scale. So this is a major problem statement lies ahead of 5G technology, which will come, which will be going to come. So that will drive the wave. of this data explosion. I think 5G will. I think that's why I think this is a very important use case study when you talk about the data explosion. And of course, for the DevOps, I do see these are the parameters, couple of which I just spoke about, which also I think DevOps will fit in around development and maintenance. So that's also important. So apart from all these areas, so that's it will play a big role, I think, in the explosion. And this is a case study is could be a useful scenario to start understanding more on the data explosion. I think as since I was not prepared, so even the companies are not prepared as of now for this data
Yeah.
explosion. So yeah,
Sure, sure. I think thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for such great insights. It's all about it's not about data mesh coming in and hitting the market at one given point of time and everybody learning it. It's also about how can we evolve the present architecture without destroying the presence in the market and now moving more towards the data mesh. I think that was something phenomenal, and I think thank you so much for saying such great insights. And also, hopefully, we do a lot of DevOps chat series like this. It's all about the plethora of resources that we go through, and
yeah.
we all come up with some of the other insights which will be used by some or the others. So it's all about that. And I think it was great talking to you. I think best.
Thanks, Vishwas, and thank you, folks. And yeah, that's also good. Even when I speak, I got to know about the terms like data explosion. I think that's a very good read, which I think we need to
Yeah,
think
and
on
I think
those
data
lines.
mesh is also a good read. Nobody knew
Yeah,
data mesh,
correct,
but
actually. If you see the
like
articles which are published in any, for that sake, medium or anything, they're hardly 1 or 2 years old. Maximum, I could say, 2 years old articles. Not more than
yeah,
that. It's a nice technology, I think, data
I
mesh.
think I think there is a person called as Jamak Dagani from ThoughtWorks. He is the pioneer of this technology, and I think probably people who are coming up with this kind of a technique probably are thinking about what lies 10 years down the line. It's not about what lies in the present. So we are happy
Yeah,
with what we have in the present, but 10 years down the line, it's going to be something cool and something
yeah.
nasty to think about. Lot of data, lot of data. I think perfect, sir. Thank you so much. We'll end the broadcast now. See you, folks, and bye bye.